The red dust of Viridian 7 swirled around Taesung's boots as he walked toward the canyon. He had been working alone at Station Echo 9 for 3 years now, and he liked it that way. No conversations, no questions. Just him, the mining equipment, and the endless rocky horizon. His scanner beeped. Something metal was buried in the canyon wall ahead, probably an old satellite or space junk. Taesung sighed and adjusted his helmet. He would have to check it out and file a report. As he got closer, he realized this was no satellite. The object was massive, half buried in the orange rock. It looked like a ship, but unlike any human vessel he had ever seen. The hull was smooth and curved, almost organic. Strange patterns glowed faintly across its surface, pulsing like a heartbeat. Taesung approached carefully. Part of the hull had been torn open, revealing the dark interior. He switched on his flashlight and stepped inside. The air was breathable, which was strange. His suit sensors showed the atmosphere inside the ship was being maintained somehow. The walls seemed to be made of some kind of living material, warm to the touch. Bioluminescent panels flickered weakly, casting eerie shadows. He moved deeper into the ship, following a corridor that opened into a larger chamber. Then he saw them, 3 small creatures huddled together in the corner. They were unlike anything in the colonial databases. Their bodies were covered in crystalline plates that shimmered with soft colors. They had 4 limbs each and large, dark eyes that reflected his light. They were small, no bigger than human children. Next to them lay a larger creature of the same species. She was barely breathing. Her crystalline plates were cracked and leaking some kind of luminescent fluid. One of her limbs reached toward a device on the floor. Taesung knelt down slowly, trying not to frighten the small ones. They pressed against each other, their colors shifting to dark purple and black. He recognized fear when he saw it. The dying creature's limb found the device. It sparked to life, projecting a holographic interface. After a moment, a translated voice emerged, mechanical but desperate. "Please," the voice said. "My younglings. Protect them. Our ship was attacked. Help comes, but not soon. Please." Taesung looked at the 3 small creatures. They were children. Alien children, yes, but children nonetheless. The colors on their bodies pulsed faster, showing distress as they watched their guardian dying. "I don't know if I can," Taesung said quietly. "Please," the voice repeated. "They are innocent. They need someone." The large creature's breathing slowed. Her colors dimmed. The 3 younglings made soft chirping sounds, pressing closer to her. One of them, the smallest, reached out to touch her face with a tiny limb. Taesung felt something crack inside his chest. He remembered another small hand, human and warm, reaching for him years ago. His daughter Harin before the pirates came. Before everything ended. "All right," he said. "I'll protect them." The dying creature's colors flashed once, bright and grateful. Then the light faded completely. She was gone. The 3 younglings huddled together, their colors shifting to deep blues and grays. They were mourning. Taesung had no idea how to comfort alien children, but he reached out slowly. The smallest one touched his hand with her limb. Her crystalline plates were smooth and warm. "It's okay," he said softly. "I've got you." He looked around the ship, trying to find anything useful. There were containers of what looked like supplies, some kind of food perhaps. He gathered what he could carry. The younglings watched him with their large eyes. "Come on," he said, gesturing toward the exit. "We need to go somewhere safe." The 3 creatures looked at each other. Colors rippled across their bodies, blues and greens mixing together. They seemed to be communicating. Then slowly they moved toward him. Taesung led them out of the crashed ship and back toward his station. The journey took an hour. The younglings followed him, chirping softly to each other. He noticed they seemed to glow brighter when they were close together. Back at Station Echo 9, he set them up in the storage room. It was the warmest area he had. He opened one of the containers he had taken from their ship. Inside was a crystalline powder that sparkled in the light. The younglings immediately moved toward it. They absorbed small amounts through their skin, and their colors brightened noticeably. Food, then, or something like it. Tae-sung sat down and watched them. The largest one had bold patterns, dark and light stripes. The middle one had swirling colors that never stayed still. The smallest one had the softest glow like moonlight. "I need to call you something," he said. "Your bit," he pointed to the smallest. "Your spark," to the middle one. "And your glimmer," to the largest. They looked at him with their dark eyes. He had no idea if they understood. His computer terminal beeped. Tae-sung went to check it. His blood ran cold as he read the emergency broadcast scrolling across the screen. "All stations, be advised. The Purity Front has entered the sector. They are searching for survivors from an unidentified alien vessel. All colonists are ordered to report any alien contact immediately. The Purity Front has authorization to use lethal force against any alien entities deemed hostile." Tae-sung looked back at Bit, Spark, and Glimmer. They were curled up together in the corner, exhausted from their ordeal. They looked so small and vulnerable. The Purity Front. He knew about them. Extremists who believed all aliens were a threat to humanity. They had killed before, entire civilian populations. They would not care that these were children. He had just promised a dying mother that he would protect her younglings. Now soldiers were coming to hunt them down. Tae-sung closed the terminal and locked down the station's external sensors. He would have to be smart about this. He could not let anyone know the younglings were here. He went back to the storage room. Bit looked up at him, her colors shifting to soft gold. It almost looked like trust. "Don't worry," Tae-sung said quietly. "I'll keep you safe. I promise." He just hoped it was a promise he could actually keep. The Purity Front was coming, and he was just one man with 3 alien children who could not even speak to each other, but he had made a promise to a dying mother. And Tae-sung kept his promises, no matter what it cost him. Learning to care for the younglings was harder than Tae-sung expected. Bit, Spark, and Glimmer needed more than just food. They needed specific minerals that he had to synthesize from the soil samples in his lab. They needed warmth, but not too much. They needed light during certain hours and darkness during others. They communicated through colors and soft chirping sounds. When they were happy, their crystalline plates glowed with warm yellows and oranges. When they were scared, dark purples and blacks rippled across their bodies. When they were sad, deep blues dominated. Tae-sung spent hours watching them, learning their patterns. He discovered that Glimmer was the brave one, always investigating new things. Spark was curious and clever, figuring out how human technology worked. Bit was gentle and quiet, but she noticed everything. At night, they huddled together and made soft humming sounds. Tae-sung recognized a lullaby when he heard one, even from alien children. It reminded him of singing Harin to sleep years ago. He tried not to think about Harin too much. The pain was still sharp after all these years. She had been 7 when the pirates attacked their colony ship. He had been in the engine room when it happened. By the time he reached her section, it was too late. He had not been able to protect his own daughter. But maybe he could protect these 3. The Purity Front was getting closer. Tae-sung monitored their communications carefully. They were moving from station to station, searching for any trace of the alien ship. Their commander, a man named Dalho, was leading the search personally. Tae-sung learned that Dalho had lost his brother Kyung-min in an alien ambush 5 years ago. Since then, Dalho had dedicated himself to eliminating any alien presence in human space. He did not care about reasons or circumstances. To him, all aliens were enemies. 2 weeks after the crash, Purity Front scouts arrived at the neighboring station. Tae-sung watched through his long-range cameras as they interrogated the workers there. They were thorough and aggressive. It would only be a matter of time before they came to Station Echo 9. Tae-sung prepared hiding spots in the mining tunnels beneath his station. The tunnels went deep into the planet's crust, old excavation sites that were no longer in use. He stocked them with supplies, including the crystalline food the younglings needed. The younglings seemed to sense something was wrong. Their colors stayed muted, and they stayed close to him constantly. Bit especially would not leave his side, her small limb holding onto his hand whenever possible. "It's going to be okay," he told them. Even though he was not sure he believed it himself, he started teaching them basic human gestures. Point for attention. Nod for yes. Shake for no. They were quick learners. Within days, they understood simple commands. In return, they tried to teach him their language. Colors meant things, he realized. Red with yellow meant danger. Blue with green meant safe. Purple with white meant question. Spark was the best teacher. She would show him a color pattern, then act out what it meant. Through her, Taesung started to understand their way of communication. One evening, as he was preparing their food, all three younglings suddenly flashed bright red and yellow. Danger. They rushed to hide behind him. Taesung checked his monitors. A Purity Front transport was landing outside his station. His heart raced. They were here. Come on, he whispered to the younglings. Underground, now. He led them through the access tunnel to the mining levels. The entrance was hidden behind a storage panel in his workshop. Once they were inside, he sealed the panel and tried to make everything look normal. The younglings were flashing dark colors, frightened. Bit was shaking. Stay quiet, Taesung said. Stay hidden. I'll come back for you. He climbed back up to the main level just as someone knocked on the airlock door. Taesung took a deep breath and opened it. 3 soldiers stood outside wearing Purity Front insignia. Their weapons were ready. Taesung, the lead soldier asked. That's me. We need to inspect your station. We have reports of alien activity in this sector. I haven't seen anything, Taesung said, stepping aside to let them in. But feel free to look around. The soldiers spread out through his station. Taesung followed them, trying to appear calm. His heart hammered in his chest. They checked every room. The quarters, the lab, the storage areas. One soldier lingered near the workshop, where the hidden tunnel entrance was located. Deep below, sparks suddenly flashed bright colors. The soldier's scanner beeped. What was that? The soldier said, checking his device. Probably the mineral deposits, Taesung said quickly. This whole area is rich in crystalline compounds. They interfere with scanners sometimes. It was true, but would they believe it? The soldier frowned and moved his scanner around. It beeped again, but the signal was inconsistent. Create a distraction, Taesung thought desperately. He moved toward his main control panel and deliberately bumped against it. Alarms started blaring as pressure warnings flashed across the screens. What the? The lead soldier spun around. Pressure leak in the east storage bay, Taesung said, running to the controls. This happens sometimes with the old seals. I need to fix it now or we'll lose atmosphere in that section. The soldiers looked at each other. The alarms were loud and urgent. Fix it, the lead soldier ordered. We'll finish the inspection. Taesung worked on the controls, actually fixing the minor leak he had created. The soldiers continued their search, but they seemed less thorough now, distracted by the alarm. After 20 minutes, they gathered at the airlock. Everything seems clear here, the lead soldier said, but stay alert. If you see anything unusual, report it immediately. Of course, Taesung said. The soldiers left. Taesung watched their transport lift off and disappear into the dusty sky. Only then did he allow himself to breathe. He rushed down to the mining tunnel. The younglings were huddled together in the darkness, their colors dim with fear. It's okay, he said softly. They're gone. Bit rushed to him, wrapping her limbs around his leg. Her colors slowly shifted back to softer blues and greens. We need to be more careful, Taesung said. They'll be back. That night, as the younglings slept, Taesung sat at his computer. He needed help. He could not do this alone. He opened a secure channel and sent a message to an old friend. Jiwoo was a cargo pilot who operated in the gray areas of colonial law. If anyone could help him get the younglings off Viridian 7, it was Jiwoo. The response came an hour later. Are you crazy? You know what the Purity Front does to people who help aliens? Taesung typed back, these are children. They need help. I'll pay you everything I have. A long pause. Then, let me think about it. It was not a yes, but it was not a no either. Taesung looked at the 3 sleeping younglings. In the soft light of the station, they looked peaceful. Innocent, he would protect them. Whatever it took. Jiwoo's response came 3 days later. I'll help, but we need to move fast. The Purity Front just established a full blockade around the sector. Taesung felt relief and dread at the same time. Help was coming, but the situation was getting worse. He looked at his monitors. Jiwoo was right. 3 Purity Front warships now orbited Viridian 7, scanning all traffic. The younglings sensed his stress. Their colors had been darker lately, more muted. Even Glimmer, usually so curious and bold, stayed close to the others. Taesung had been teaching them more human words. They could not speak them, but they understood. Hide and quiet and danger were the ones they learned fastest. He wished he could teach them safe and mean it. Through their color language, he learned more about them. They showed him patterns that seemed to mean mother when they looked at images of the dead guardian. They showed him patterns that meant home when they touched the pieces of their ship he had salvaged. One evening, Spark did something unexpected. She projected colors in a complex sequence, then pulled up images on Taesung's computer screen. She was hacking his system, learning to use human technology. Smart girl, Taesung said. Impressed, Spark's colors flashed with pride. Warm golds and oranges. Through the computer, Spark showed him images from their ship's database. Taesung saw massive cities made of crystal and light. He saw thousands of beings like the younglings, their colors creating beautiful patterns together. He saw ships that looked like living creatures, graceful and powerful. Then Spark showed him an image that made Taesung's breath catch. A tall, magnificent being covered in crystalline plates adorned with intricate patterns. She wore what looked like a crown, and her colors were more vibrant than any he had seen. Spark's own colors flashed in a pattern Taesung had learned meant mother. That's your mother? Taesung asked. Spark nodded, copying the human gesture he had taught her. Taesung looked at the image again. The being looked regal, important. Who is she? Spark pulled up more images. He saw the same being in what looked like a throne room, surrounded by others who bowed to her. He saw her on a massive ship, clearly in command. Understanding dawned on Taesung. She's a queen. Your royalty. All three younglings flashed colors together, a synchronized pattern of confirmation. Oh no, Taesung said quietly. No wonder someone attacked your ship. No wonder the Purity Front is so determined. This was bigger than he thought. These were not just any alien children. They were the offspring of a queen. Their death could start a war. Their survival could prevent one. His terminal beeped urgently. Taesung checked it and his blood went cold. The Purity Front had found biological traces at the crash site. They now had a genetic signature to track. Dalho himself was coming to this sector. Taesung quickly calculated. The younglings had been in his station for weeks. There would be traces of them everywhere, invisible to the eye but detectable with the right equipment. If the Purity Front brought scanners here, they would find evidence. We need to leave, he said to the younglings. Now, before they get here. He gathered supplies quickly. Food, water, the crystalline nutrients the younglings needed. He filled packs with everything he could carry. Jiwoo's voice came through on the communicator. Taesung, listen carefully. I can't land at your station. They're watching it. But there's an old mining facility 50 kilometers south. Meet me there in 12 hours. Understood, Taesung said. We'll be there. And Taesung? They're really serious about finding these aliens. Dalho has authorization to use orbital strikes if necessary. Don't let them see you. The communicator went dead. Taesung looked at the younglings. They were watching him with their large dark eyes, their colors showing concern. They knew something was wrong. We're going on a trip, he said, trying to sound calm. A long walk. Can you do that? Bit came forward and touched his hand. Her colors shifted to determined reds and golds. Spark and Glimmer moved beside her, their colors matching. They were ready. Taesung loaded his equipment onto a small ground vehicle. The younglings climbed into the back, huddling together. He covered them with thermal blankets that would hide their heat signature from aerial scans. Just as he was about to leave, proximity alarms blared. Ships were approaching. Multiple ships. Taesung looked at his monitors. 5 Purity Front transports were descending towards Station Echo 9. They would be here in minutes. Hold on, he told the younglings. He gunned the vehicle's engine and raced away from the station, heading south into the rocky Badlands. Behind him, the transports landed at his station. Soldiers poured out, weapons ready. Taesung pushed the vehicle as fast as it could go. The terrain was rough, all rocks and canyons. The vehicle bounced and shook. He heard the younglings chirping to each other under the blankets, frightened. His scanner showed aerial drones launching from the station. They were searching for him. Not good, he muttered. Ahead was a deep canyon, one of the mining tunnels that had collapsed years ago. It created a natural bridge of stone. Taesung aimed for it. The vehicle shot across the bridge. Just as they reached the other side, Tae-sung heard the drones behind them. He swerved into a narrow canyon, losing sight of the sky. The canyon walls were high and close together. The drones could not follow here without crashing. But the canyon also meant he was trapped if soldiers came from the other end. He drove for an hour through the winding passages, taking random turns to confuse any pursuit. Finally, he stopped in a wide section where an old mining entrance led into the underground. "We walk from here," he said. The younglings emerged from under the blankets. They looked tired and scared, their colors dim. Bit was shaking again. Tae-sung checked his location. The old mining facility where Jiwoo would meet them was still 30 kilometers away, and now they had to go on foot through underground tunnels. He distributed the packs, giving the lightest ones to the younglings. They put them on without complaint, even Bit. "Stay close to me," Tae-sung said. "These tunnels are dangerous." He activated his helmet light and led them into the darkness. The tunnels sloped downward, deeper into the planet. The air was stale and cold. Behind them, somewhere up on the surface, the Purity Front was hunting. Dalho would not give up. He would search every canyon, every tunnel, every hole in the ground. Tae-sung looked at the three small figures following him, their crystalline plates providing a faint glow in the darkness. They trusted him to keep them safe. He just hoped he could. The tunnel ahead branched into multiple passages. Tae-sung chose the widest one and kept walking. Every step took them deeper into the planet, further from the surface, further from their pursuers, but also further from safety. Somewhere above, Dalho was probably standing in Tae-sung's abandoned station, looking at the evidence that aliens had been there, probably ordering his soldiers to search every tunnel on the planet. The hunt had only just begun. The underground tunnels of Viridian 7 were like a maze. They twisted and turned, branching into countless passages that went deeper and deeper into the planet's crust. Some tunnels were wide and stable. Others were narrow and dangerous, with cracked walls that could collapse at any moment. Tae-sung led the younglings carefully through the darkness. His helmet light was the only source of illumination besides the faint glow from their crystalline plates. The air was thin down here, and his suit's oxygen recycler worked constantly. The younglings did not seem to have trouble breathing. Their biology was different from humans, but they were getting tired. Even Glimmer, the strongest of the three, was moving slower now. They had been walking for 4 hours when they heard it. A distant rumbling sound echoing through the tunnels. Tae-sung stopped. Everyone quiet, the younglings froze. Their colors shifted to dark purples, showing fear. They heard it too. The rumbling came again, louder this time. Then voices, faint but clear. "Human voices. They're in the tunnels," someone said. "Keep searching." The Purity Front had followed them underground. Tae-sung looked around quickly. They were in a junction where 3 tunnels met. 2 went deeper down. 1 led back toward the surface. He could hear the soldiers coming from the surface tunnel. "This way," he whispered, pointing to the leftmost downward tunnel. They hurried into it. The tunnel was narrow and the ceiling was low. Tae-sung had to duck his head. The younglings fit better, but even they had to move carefully. Behind them, lights appeared in the junction they had just left. The soldiers were getting closer. The tunnel began to slope steeply downward. Tae-sung's boots struggled for grip on the smooth stone. Bit slipped and Tae-sung caught her quickly, steadying her. "Careful," he whispered. They continued down. The slope became steeper until it was almost a slide. Tae-sung braced himself against the walls, controlling his descent. The younglings used their multiple limbs to grip the stone, more stable than him in this terrain. The tunnel opened suddenly into a vast cavern. Tae-sung's light could not reach the far walls. It was huge, like a cathedral carved by ancient geological forces, and it was a dead end. The cavern floor was 50 meters below, and there was no path down except to fall. "No, no, no," Tae-sung muttered, looking around desperately. Behind them, the soldiers' voices grew louder. They had entered the steep tunnel and were coming down. Glimmer moved to the edge of the drop and looked down. Her colors flashed in patterns Tae-sung did not recognize. Spark and Bit came to join her, and all 3 began flashing in synchronized patterns. Something in the cavern below began to glow. Faint at first, then stronger. Ancient bioluminescent fungi or maybe crystalline formations responding to the younglings' light patterns. It spread across the cavern floor, illuminating a sight that made Tae-sung's jaw drop. Below them was a structure. Not natural geology but built. Columns and walls and archways all carved from the same crystalline material that covered the younglings' bodies. It was ancient, partially collapsed but unmistakably artificial. An ancient city. Underground. Built by the younglings' species, perhaps thousands of years ago. Your people were here, Taesung said in wonder. Long ago they lived on this planet. The younglings' colors were excited now, bright yellows and greens. Even in danger they recognized something of their heritage, but they still had to get down there. And the soldiers were coming. Taesung looked at his supplies. He had rope, standard mining equipment. But 50 meters was too far to climb safely, especially with 3 alien younglings who had no experience with human climbing gear. Glimmer touched one of the walls near the edge. Her colors flashed and suddenly the wall began to glow. Patterns appeared in the stone, ancient markings that lit up in response to her touch. Spark and Bit added their own touches. More patterns appeared, spreading across the rock face. Then, incredibly, the wall began to change. Handholds emerged from the stone, forming a crude ladder down to the cavern floor. You can control it, Taesung said, amazed. Your species' ancient technology still responds to you. Glimmer looked at him and flashed a pattern he recognized as affirmation. The younglings started climbing down, their limbs finding the handholds easily. Taesung followed, testing each handhold before trusting his weight to it. The stone was solid, responding to some ancient programming embedded in its structure. They were halfway down when lights appeared at the top of the tunnel. The soldiers had reached the cavern. There they are. Someone shouted, "Open fire!" Energy bolts streaked down, striking the rock face. Taesung felt heat wash over him as a bolt passed close to his head. He moved faster, practically sliding down the handholds. A bolt hit near Bit. She lost her grip and fell. Taesung reacted without thinking. He pushed off from the wall, catching Bit in midair. They tumbled together, falling. He twisted his body to take the impact, wrapping around the small alien. They hit the cavern floor hard. Pain shot through Taesung's left leg and back. His helmet cracked. But Bit was safe, protected in his arms. Spark and Glimmer reached the floor and rushed to them. Their colors were panicked, flashing red and yellow urgently. "I'm okay," Taesung gasped, though his leg screamed in protest. "Help me up." The younglings helped him stand. He could not put weight on his left leg, probably broken or badly sprained. He looked up. The soldiers were starting to descend. "Run," he told the younglings. "Go into the ruins." They hesitated, looking at him with their large eyes. "Go," he said more firmly. "I'll follow." Glimmer and Spark grabbed his arms, supporting him between them. Bit led the way into the ancient structures. Despite their small size, the younglings were strong. They practically carried him across the cavern floor. More energy bolts streaked past them. One hit a nearby column, shattering it. Ancient stone crashed down, creating a barrier between them and the soldiers. They entered what looked like a large hall, supported by dozens of columns. Broken statues lined the walls, carved in the likeness of the youngling species. Ancient text covered every surface, glowing faintly. Taesung's leg gave out. He collapsed against a wall, breathing hard. The younglings clustered around him, their colors showing deep concern. Through the broken columns, he could see the soldiers spreading out across the cavern floor. They were being careful now, watching for ambushes. But they were coming. "I can't run anymore," Taesung said quietly. "I'm sorry." Bit touched his face gently with her limb. Her colors shifted to soft blues and purples. Sadness and determination mixed together. Spark moved to one of the walls covered in ancient text. She pressed her limbs against it, and the text began to glow brighter. Glimmer joined her, adding her own light to the patterns. The entire hall began to respond. Light spread across the walls, the floor, the ceiling. The ancient city was waking up after thousands of years of sleep, responding to the presence of its creator's descendants. Taesung heard the soldiers shouting in confusion as the light spread. It was blinding, making it impossible to see into the hall. But inside the hall, the light felt warm and safe. The younglings' colors were brighter than Taesung had ever seen them, resonating with the ancient technology of their ancestors. "You're calling for help," Taesung realized, "sending a signal through your people's old network." The younglings flashed affirmation patterns together. Somewhere far above, breaking through the atmosphere, that signal was reaching into space. Reaching toward stars where their species lived. Reaching toward their mother, the queen who had been searching desperately for her lost children. Help was coming. They just had to survive until it arrived. The light from the ancient hall pulsed like a beacon, sending its signal through rock and air in the vacuum of space. Taesung sat against the wall, his injured leg stretched out, watching the younglings work with their ancestors' technology. They moved between the glowing panels with purpose now, no longer scared children but something more. They were connecting with their heritage. Outside the hall, he could hear Dalho's soldiers arguing about how to proceed. The light made it impossible for them to see inside, and they feared a trap. "Commander Dalho is coming down himself," one soldier reported over their radio. "He says we wait for him." Taesung checked his chronometer. It had been 6 hours since they entered the tunnels. Jiwoo would be waiting at the rendezvous point, but there was no way they could reach him now. Not with Taesung's leg broken and soldiers blocking the only exit. Bit came to sit beside him. She had found a piece of cloth from his pack and was trying to wrap it around his leg, copying what she had seen him do when she scraped her limb days ago. It was awkward but touching. "Thank you," Taesung said softly. Her colors rippled with warm golds. She chirped quietly and leaned against him. Spark and Glimmer continued working with the ancient systems. More lights activated throughout the ruins. Taesung saw doorways opening in walls that had appeared solid. Hidden chambers revealed themselves. This place was larger than he thought, a whole underground complex. Then the light patterns changed. Instead of pulsing outward, they began to pulse inward, like something was responding to the signal. The younglings' colors flashed with excitement. They chirped to each other rapidly, their patterns synchronizing. "What is it?" Taesung asked. Glimmer came to him and projected colors that meant mother and coming, and something else he did not have a word for. "Hope, maybe, or salvation." "Your mother heard the signal?" "Already?" All three younglings flashed affirmation. It seemed impossible. The signal had only been broadcasting for hours. Even if ships were nearby, responding so quickly meant they had to be close. Very close, which meant the Queen had been searching this sector already, looking for her children. A new voice echoed through the cavern. "This is Commander Dalho of the Purity Front. Taesung, I know you're in there. Come out and surrender the alien creatures. Do this and you'll be treated leniently." Taesung said nothing. There was nothing to say. "We know they're children," Dalho continued. "But children grow into adults. Adults who will threaten humanity. We cannot allow that. Be reasonable. One man's life and 3 alien lives against the safety of all humanity. The math is simple." "The math," Taesung muttered bitterly. "He reduces everything to numbers." Bit's colors flashed with questioning patterns. She could sense his anger. "He killed children before," Taesung said quietly. "People like him. They came to our colony ship. They said we were harboring enemy aliens. We weren't, but they didn't care. They destroyed 3 habitat sections. My daughter was in one of them." Bit's colors shifted to deep blues. Sadness. Understanding. "That's why I couldn't leave you," Taesung continued. "Not you 3. Not again." The younglings gathered around him, their colors gentle and comforting. Even in their fear, they tried to make him feel better. Dalho's voice came again. "We're coming in, Taesung." Last chance, Taesung heard movement outside. The soldiers were preparing to enter despite the light. They must have brought some kind of visual filters or sensors that could penetrate it. He checked his pistol. It had maybe 20 shots left. Against a dozen soldiers with military-grade weapons, he would not last long, but he would make it count. Then everything changed. The entire planet shook. A deep rumbling came from above, felt more than heard. Dust rained down from the cavern ceiling. The soldiers outside shouted in alarm. Taesung checked his suit's scanner. It still had connection to the surface satellites. What he saw made his eyes widen. Ships. Massive ships, dozens of them appearing in orbit around Viridian 7. They had not flown in on conventional drives. They had simply appeared, using some kind of technology that bypassed normal space. The ships were like the crashed vessel, but 1,000 times larger. They were beautiful and terrifying at once, their hulls covered in the same crystalline patterns as the younglings' bodies. Colonial defense forces scrambled, broadcasting emergency warnings. But the alien fleet made no aggressive moves. They simply positioned themselves in orbit, clearly visible to everyone on the surface. Then one ship, larger and more ornate than the others, began to descend. It was heading straight for their location. The younglings were dancing now, their colors bright with joy. They knew that ship. They knew who was aboard. Your mother, Taesung said. Above ground, chaos erupted. The Purity Front forces did not know whether to continue their hunt or retreat, to deal with the alien arrival. Colonial authorities were broadcasting orders and counter-orders. The giant ship settled over the canyon outside. Taesung's scanner showed its signature. The power readings were incredible. This ship could probably destroy the entire continent if it wanted to, but it was not here to destroy. It was here to retrieve. Something was cutting through the rock above them, not explosively but precisely. A circular section of the cavern ceiling simply vanished, revealing the sky. But not the dusty red sky of Viridian 7. Instead, there was the hull of the massive ship, open to receive them. Beings descended on platforms of light. They were the same species as the younglings, but adult, tall and powerful. Their crystalline plates were armor, their colors intense and purposeful. They moved with military precision, but leading them was one who needed no armor. She was magnificent, towering over the others. Her crystalline body adorned with patterns that seemed to contain entire galaxies. Her colors were not just light but presence, authority, power tempered with grace. Queen Shira had arrived. She descended into the cavern, her warriors spreading out to secure the area. The Purity Front soldiers fled. Even Dalho, with all his hatred, recognized they were outmatched. The queen's large eyes swept the cavern and found the ancient hall. She moved toward it, her steps making no sound on the stone floor. The younglings rushed from the hall, chirping and flashing their colors and patterns of pure joy. The queen's stern expression shattered. She knelt down, gathering all three younglings into her limbs, enfolding them in a massive embrace. Her colors exploded in patterns that needed no translation. Relief, love, gratitude, the kind of emotions that transcended species. Taesung watched from inside the hall, leaning against the wall. His job was done. The younglings were safe now. Their mother would protect them. He tried to stand, thinking he should slip away quietly, but his leg gave out and he fell. The queen's head snapped toward him. In seconds, she crossed the distance, her warriors following. She loomed over him, and Taesung suddenly understood how a mouse felt when an eagle noticed it. But her colors were not threatening. They pulsed with questions. The younglings rushed to his side, chirping urgently to their mother. Their colors flashed in rapid patterns, telling their story. Taesung saw them flash patterns that meant protected and saved and guardian. The queen's massive head tilted as she studied him. Then carefully, she reached out one limb and touched his chest. Her colors shifted to patterns he had never seen before, complex and layered with meaning. A device on her forearm activated, projecting a holographic translator. A voice emerged, resonant and powerful. You protected my children, kept them safe when you could have surrendered them. Fed them, taught them, risked your life for them. Anyone would have done the same, Taesung said quietly. No, the queen said. Most would not. Many of your kind wanted them dead. You chose differently. Her colors pulsed with something that might have been respect. What is your name, human? Taesung, Taesung, she repeated. The translator made his name sound musical. You are injured. My people will heal you, and then you will come with us. Come with you? Taesung did not understand. There is much to discuss, the queen said, but first you need medical attention. And my children need to know you are safe. The younglings flashed agreement, their colors bright. Queen Shira gestured to her warriors. They brought forward a floating medical platform. Gentle limbs lifted Taesung onto it, and he felt something warm spread through his leg. The pain began to fade. As they carried him toward the light platforms that would take them up to the ship, Taesung looked back at the ancient hall. The beacon was still glowing, but fainter now. Its purpose fulfilled. Above them, the massive ship waited, and beyond that, stars Taesung had never seen. His quiet life on Viridian 7 was over. Something new was beginning. The interior of Queen Shira's ship was beyond anything Taesung had imagined. The walls were alive, pulsing gently with bioluminescent light. The air was warm and smelled faintly of something sweet, like flowers he had never encountered. Everything curved and flowed in organic patterns that were both alien and strangely beautiful. They took him to a medical chamber where beings in pale crystalline robes examined his injuries. They worked in silence, their colors flashing to each other in rapid communication. Within an hour, his leg was healed. Not just stabilized, but actually healed. When he stood, there was no pain at all. "Your medical technology is incredible," he said to one of the healers. The healer's colors flashed in what might have been modesty or acknowledgement. They did not speak, but gestured that he should follow. They led him through corridors that seemed to change configuration as he walked, always opening into new spaces. He passed chambers where dozens of the aliens worked at stations that looked like living crystal. He saw what must have been living quarters, training halls, gardens that grew plants he had never seen. Finally, they reached a large chamber with high ceilings and walls covered in intricate patterns. At the center stood Queen Shira. The three younglings were with her, along with several other adults who carried themselves with authority. Advisors, probably. Bit saw him first and rushed over, chirping happily. Her colors flashed bright golds and yellows. Spark and glimmer followed, surrounding him with their presence. "They missed you," the Queen said through her translator. "In just the time you were being healed, they worried." "I missed them too," Taesung admitted. The Queen gestured for him to approach. He walked forward, the youngling staying close to him. "Sit," she said, indicating a bench that seemed to grow from the floor. "We must talk." Taesung sat. The youngling settled around him, Bit leaning against his leg like she always did. "You know who I am," the Queen began, "but you do not know our full situation. My children were traveling with their guardian, Vera, on a diplomatic mission. We were betrayed. A faction among my own people, those who believe we should isolate from all other species, attacked their ship. They wanted my children dead to prevent any alliance with species like yours." "I'm sorry," Taesung said. "Vara died protecting them," the Queen continued, her colors dimming with grief. "But she got them to your planet. She could have tried to reach one of our colonies. It would have been safer. But she knew the attackers would follow, so she chose a remote world, hoping to hide them until I could arrive." "She chose well," Taesung said. "The planet is mostly unmapped. If I hadn't been surveying that specific canyon, no one might have found the crash for weeks. But you did find them, and you made a choice." The Queen leaned forward. "You knew they were alien. You knew your own people would hunt them. You had no reason to protect them except compassion. Why?" Taesung looked at the younglings, then back at the Queen. "Because they're children." "That's reason enough. Many would not agree. The ones who hunted you, for example." "Commander Dalho lost someone to aliens," Taesung said. "It twisted him, made him see all aliens as enemies. But that's wrong. You can't judge an entire species by the worst encounters, and you definitely can't blame children for what adults do." The Queen's colors rippled with patterns that might have been satisfaction. "You understand something many do not. Wisdom is rare, Taesung, especially wisdom combined with courage and compassion." She stood, and all the other adults in the chamber stood with her. This was clearly important. "Among my people," the Queen said, "there is an ancient tradition. When someone who is not Velan protects royal offspring with their life, risking everything to keep them safe, we have a ceremony. It is called Kasvera. It means guardian of the blood." Taesung did not understand. "A ceremony?" "More than that. A bonding. You protected my children not because you had to, not because you expected reward, but because you chose to. This is sacred to us. Kasvera means you become family." "Family?" Taesung's voice was barely a whisper. "I am offering to name you as my adopted son," the Queen said, "to give you a place in the royal lineage, to make you Velan in all ways that matter, though your body remains human." The chamber was silent. Even the younglings were still, their colors muted with the seriousness of the moment. "I don't..." Taesung struggled for words. "Your Majesty, I'm honored, but I'm just a minor. I'm not royalty. I'm not special. I just did what anyone should do." "But others did not do it," one of the advisors said through his translator. "They hunted. You protected. This makes you worthy." "There has not been a Kasvera in 300 years, another advisor added. "The honor is given rarely because the circumstances are rare. But when they arise, we do not hesitate." Queen Shira came closer to Taesung. Up close, she was even more magnificent. Her colors were complex beyond understanding, layers upon layers of meaning. "You lost a daughter," she said gently. "My children told me. They felt your grief even as you protected them. You carry that pain, yet you still chose to shelter other children. This is the heart of Kasvera, taking pain and transforming it into protection." Taesung felt tears on his face. He had not cried since Harin died. He had not let himself. She was 7, he said. Harin. She liked to draw pictures of stars. She wanted to be an explorer when she grew up. She would be proud of you, the Queen said. You honored her memory by saving my children. Bit moved closer, pressing against him. Her colors were soft blues and purples, comfort and love. Spark and Glimmer joined her, surrounding him with their warmth. These 3, the Queen said, already consider you family. They call you Bahtai in our language, Guardian Father. They have chosen you, Taesung. I am simply making it official. Taesung looked at the younglings. At Bit, who had trusted him from the start. At Spark, who had taught him their language. At Glimmer, who had been brave when everything was frightening. He had protected them because it was right, but somewhere along the way they had become his reason to keep going. What would this ceremony involve? He asked quietly. You would kneel. I would place my foreclaw over your heart. Our biology would touch, creating a bond. You would carry marks on your skin, bioluminescent patterns that show you are Casvera. You would have rights within our society equal to any royal born, and you would have responsibilities. To protect, to counsel, to represent the link between humans and Villan. That's a lot of responsibility. Yes, the Queen agreed. But you have already proven you can handle it. Taesung took a deep breath. This was not something he had ever imagined. A human becoming part of an alien royal family. It would change everything. His life would never be simple again. But when he looked at Bit, Spark, and Glimmer, he knew his answer. I accept, he said. The Queen's colors exploded in brilliant patterns. All the adults in the chamber flashed in response, a symphony of light. Kneel Taesung of humanity, Queen Shira said formally. He knelt. The younglings moved back, giving space for the ceremony. The Queen placed her foreclaw over his heart. It was warm. He felt something flow from her into him, not painful but strange, like electricity but alive. She spoke in her own language, words that needed no translation because they carried meaning in their sound. Ancient words, heavy with tradition. The marking began. Patterns appeared on Taesung's skin, glowing softly. They spread across his chest, up his neck, down his arms. Beautiful and intricate, they told a story in light. The story of a human who protected alien children. The story of compassion bridging the stars. Rise, Kasivra Taesung, the Queen said. Rise as my son. Rise as guardian of the royal line. Rise as a bridge between our peoples. Taesung stood. The patterns on his skin continued to glow softly. He looked at his hands and saw the light dancing across his fingers. The younglings rushed to him, all 3 at once, their colors bright with joy. Their chirping filled the chamber. You're ours now, the Queen said with warmth in her voice. And we are yours. Family, Taesung. You have family again. For the first time since Harin died, Taesung felt complete. 6 months had passed since the ceremony. Taesung stood in the gardens of the royal palace on Ishara Prime, the Villan homeworld, and watched Bit, Spark, and Glimmer practice their diplomatic lessons with their tutor. They had grown so much. They were adolescents now in Villan terms, their crystalline plates larger and more complex in pattern. They still called him Bahtai. They still sought him out when they were troubled or excited or just wanted company. He was part of their lives in a way that felt natural now, even though everything had changed. Bahtai, Bit called out. Watch this. She performed a complex series of color patterns, speaking formal diplomatic greetings in 6 different languages at once through light and sound. Her tutor's colors flashed with approval. Very good, Taesung called back. But remember to pause between the Terran greeting and the Xyloth greeting. Humans need a moment to process. Bit's colors flashed with acknowledgement. She started the sequence again, this time with the proper pauses. Taesung smiled. He was teaching them about humanity, about Earth customs and culture. In return, he was learning about the Villan and dozens of other species in their alliance. His days were full of lessons, meetings, and diplomatic functions. It was exhausting and exhilarating at the same time. Thinking hard thoughts? Queen Shira's voice came from behind him. He turned. The Queen was dressed in simpler robes today, not her full formal regalia. She had learned that Taesung was more comfortable with casual interactions. Just watching them grow, he said. 6 months ago, they were hiding in my mining station, scared of everything. Now look at them. Children adapt quickly, the Queen said, moving to stand beside him, especially with good guidance. You have been a positive influence, Taesung. I'm just doing my best. That is all any parent can do. She paused. I received a message today. From your human authorities. They want to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Valan Collective. They have asked if you would serve as the primary human ambassador to our people. Tae Sung absorbed this. That would mean speaking for all of humanity in dealings with the Valan. Yes, a heavy responsibility. But you are uniquely qualified. You understand both our peoples. You have the trust of both sides. What about you? He asked. What do you want? Queen Shira's colors shifted to warm patterns. I want what is best for my people. And I believe connection with humanity is beneficial. Your species is young, but you have qualities we admire. Resilience, adaptability, and individuals like you demonstrate that compassion exists even in a harsh universe. I'll do it, Tae Sung said. If it helps build bridges between our peoples, I'll serve as ambassador. Good. We will make the announcement at the treaty signing ceremony next month. The Treaty of Viridian, named after the planet where everything changed. It would establish trade routes, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense agreements between humans and Valan. Other species in the Valan alliance were watching with interest. If this worked, humanity would gain access to a vast network of alien civilizations, all because one man had chosen to protect 3 alien children. The younglings finished their lesson and bounded over, their colors bright. They were discussing something excitedly, talking too fast for Tae Sung to follow. Slow down, he laughed. What's got you all excited? Ambassador from the Crystalline Syndicate is visiting next week, Spark said, her colors flashing with enthusiasm. They want to meet you, the human who became Kasvera. Your story has spread far, Queen Shira said. Many species are curious about you. I'm not that interesting, Tae Sung protested. You are fascinating, Glimmer corrected. First human to be adopted into an alien royal family. First Kasvera in centuries. Bridge between 2 species. You're basically famous. I just did what was right. That is why you are famous, Queen Shira said gently, because you did what was right when it was difficult. This inspires others. A messenger approached, colors flashing in formal patterns. Pardon the interruption, Your Majesty. There is a visitor at the palace gates. A human named Jiwoo. He says he is a friend of Kasvera Tae Sung. Jiwoo? Tae Sung's face lit up. Let him in. The messenger bowed and departed. The cargo pilot who is going to help you escape, Queen Shira recalled. You have spoken of him. He risked a lot to help me. I'd like you to meet him. Minutes later, Jiwoo was escorted into the gardens. He walked carefully, eyes wide at the alien surroundings. When he saw Tae Sung, he relaxed visibly. Tae Sung! Or should I say Your Royal Highness or whatever? Just Tae Sung is fine, Tae Sung said, gripping his friend's hand warmly. What brings you all the way to Ashara Prime? Had a cargo run to the Valan trade station, Jiwoo said. Business is good, by the way. Human Valan trade is booming, but I wanted to see how you were doing. Last time we talked, you were being hunted by the Purity Front. Now you're living in a palace. Hell of a change. You have no idea, Tae Sung laughed. He introduced Jiwoo to Queen Shira and the younglings. Jiwoo was nervous at first, but the younglings' friendly colors and curious chirping put him at ease. Your Majesty, Jiwoo said, bowing awkwardly. Thank you for taking care of my friend. He is family now, Queen Shira said, and any friend of his is welcome here. They spent the afternoon together. Jiwoo told stories about the changes happening in human space. The Purity Front had been disbanded after the incident on Viridian 7. Dalho was in prison, serving a long sentence for his crimes. But there's something else, Jiwoo said, pulling out a data pad. I was asked to give you this. Tae Sung took the pad. It contained a video message. He activated it. Dalho's face appeared on screen. He looked older, thinner. Prison had not been kind to him. But his eyes were different. Less angry, more thoughtful. Tae Sung, Dalho's voice said from the recording. I don't deserve your time, but I wanted to speak. I've had months to think about what I did, about what I believed. I was wrong. About aliens, about you, about everything. Dalho paused, collecting himself. I watched the recordings from Viridian 7, saw how you protected those children, saw how they trusted you. I realized something. My brother Kyungmin, he died in a war, not because aliens are evil, but because people like me made that war inevitable. We refused to see them as people. You showed me something different. You showed me that compassion is possible. That understanding can exist. I'll never be free, Taesung. My crimes are too serious. But I wanted you to know that your example changed me. And I'm trying to change others. I give talks now to prisoners, to soldiers, to anyone who will listen. I tell them about you and those children. About how one man chose differently. Dalho looked directly at the camera. Thank you, Taesung, for showing me that a better way is possible. I hope someday I can help build the peace you started. The recording ended. Taesung stared at the blank screen. He had never expected this, had never thought Dalho could change. He's trying, Jiwoo said quietly. Trying to make up for what he did. It won't bring back the people he hurt, but it's something. It's more than something, Queen Shira said. It is hope. If even those consumed by hate can learn compassion, then peace is truly possible. The younglings had been quiet during the message. Now Bit came forward, her colors gentle. Forgiveness is hard, she said through her translator device. She was learning to use human technology now, but Bahatai taught us that protection is always better than revenge. Maybe this Dalho learned the same lesson. Taesung pulled Bit close. You're very wise for your age. I learned from you, she said simply. That evening, as the twin suns of Ishara Prime set, painting the sky in colors no human artist had ever imagined, Taesung stood on the palace balcony. The city spread out below, a forest of crystalline towers that sang in the wind. Beyond that, the spaceport where ships from a dozen species came and went. Queen Shira joined him as she often did in the evenings. They had developed a comfortable friendship, a bond built on shared experience and mutual respect. Do you regret it? She asked. Leaving your simple life behind? You were alone but safe. Now you are surrounded by people and responsibility. Taesung thought about it carefully. Sometimes I miss the quiet. But no, I don't regret it. I was alone because I was hiding from pain. Now I'm surrounded by people because I chose to face it. That's better. And my children? They can be demanding. They're worth it, Taesung said. All of them. This whole complicated situation, it's worth it. Bit, Spark, and Glimmer emerged onto the balcony, done with their evening studies. They settled around Taesung and their mother, their colors content and peaceful. Tell us about Earth, Spark requested. About the oceans. You promised. I did promise, Taesung agreed. Let me tell you about the ocean near where I grew up. It was blue and green, and when the sunlight hit it just right, he told them stories of home. Stories of a planet they had never seen but would visit someday, as part of their diplomatic education. He told them about humanity, about all its flaws and all its potential. The younglings listened, their colors shifting with interest and wonder. Queen Shira listened too, learning about the species that had provided her children with an unlikely savior. Above them, stars came out. Human stars and Valan stars and the stars of countless other species, all shining together in the endless dark.